breaking free. Yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression. It's out for liberty. Breaking free. Yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts. We're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting loud, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. We're claiming our land, yeah.
I hate this show. Oh my goodness.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Are You Smarter Than a Politician? This is your Friday night gateway drug to liberty. Tonight, we're asking a dangerous question. Is the system broken or is it working exactly as designed? From who really holds the power to how the rules get written to whether the game is rigged before you even vote, we're diving into money, elections, enforcement, and the systems that shape your daily life. And tonight, three notable political minds step up, ready to defend it or ready to tear it all down. So get ready, because tonight you decide who is smarter than a politician. And joining us first, we have actually three people that are all returning champions tonight. Joining us first, Lars Mapstead. How are you tonight, Lars?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Tell us what you're up to and promote anything you're working on.
Awesome. Well, as you can see in my background here, Ballots Without Barriers is a thing that we're just about ready to launch here. I'll give you guys a sneak preview. You can go check it out. Basically, it's the activist part to get us ballot access for independents and third parties. We spend $1 million a year from the Libertarian Party to get ballot access across the country. And we should spend none of that to the government, and we should use all that money to push our candidates and get our message out there so that we can get freedom to the people of America.
Awesome. Sounds like great work. Thanks for joining us. Also joining us, another returning champion. I think she's won in both English and communist. Amanda Griffiths, how are you tonight?
I'm good, but actually I think I think that I've only ever won this show as Leon Trotsky. Which should say something about your viewership. And so if people want to break that trend, then they should probably have me win tonight as Amanda Griffiths. I'm good. I'm doing well. It's good to be back and eager to have fun with some new people.
Awesome. And tell everybody what you're working on and where to find you.
I am working on getting 100 Povertarians to Grand Rapids with LP Alliance. And again, you can find us at lpalliance.com. Find us on Discord, discord.gg/LP-Alliance. And read our movement journal at torch.media. Submit to it as well. We've got great articles. But if you donate to LP Alliance, if you buy any of our merch, 100% of those proceeds are going to get people who would otherwise not be able to go to Grand Rapids and be delegates at convention. It's going to be able to provide for their travel and or lodging what they need. I'm also allegedly running for vice chair of the Libertarian National Committee. So that's the thing. I'm also a wildly commercially unsuccessful parody artist at agitpopinternational.substack.com, where you can listen to Agitpop in Offensive Marxism, a parody album about the Russian Revolution. I think that's it. I think that's all that I've ever done in my life.
I'm your biggest fan of your Agitpop body of work, so keep doing it. And like Amanda said, she's a candidate for LP vice chair. She is an LP Alliance first mover, and they're working on getting the Povertarians to the national convention. So hopefully they can vote for her. And you can find her on X at Ajax the Griff, or you can find LP Alliance at LP_allies. Thanks for doing this, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
Last but not least, the ringleader of the convention in Grand Rapids coming up in a short while here, Pat Ford. How are you tonight, Pat?
There's magic in the air, and I want to say, as a lifelong apparatchik, I think I've reached full Soviet apparatchik state. Worker for the state. I too am an admirer of our fellow guests. So that's outstanding. Something about, I guess we're getting together in Michigan in a few weeks, 50 days or so and counting. It's all starting to come together. Thank God. The big announcement this week is the appearance of Afro Man at the Libertarian National Convention. He'll be at a couple of different venues within the convention. We're all looking forward to that. We've got this incredible range of speakers. Ford Fisher, for example, the noted libertarian independent journalist who seems to be everywhere. He's almost got to be a Fed, because he popped up in Minneapolis right at when Minneapolis blew up. He was in New York City when New York blew up. He's everywhere and anywhere. We're going to have a wonderful conversation about independent media and fighting the air quotes privacy state. So that's going to be tremendous. We're going to have a couple of big parties that weekend as well, happening cooperatively within the ecosystem. We're also going to have something called a crypto corner for the first time, where we'll have established crypto folks like Zano appear there, run X Spaces, have conversations, teach-ins, and actually they'll be speaking to the convention as well as yet another keynote speaker. So we are actually have a plethora of folks. I've got more speakers than I have time for. I think I'm going to hold it over to 5 days just because. Meanwhile, Libertarian Mutual Aid keeps going. We're out 2 or 3 days a week right now because the state is literally failing around us. They've made the promises to take care of people in a lifelong cradle to grave environment. Unfortunately, the grave is happening sooner as the state just continues to make promises they can't keep. At the same time, gatekeeps mutual aid providers from doing the work that they fail to do. So that's a big deal. Listen, we're showing out shameless self-promotion here. Go to libertarianmutualaid.org. We are 100% privately funded. We take no government money. There are no salaries. It is 100% volunteer. And we supply bulk water and nutrition and wound care kits and, all sorts of harm reduction tools to folks who are homeless, to meal kitchens, to food pantries around Rhode Island. And if you're out there and you want to participate in something like this in your home territory, we'll be happy to help you get started with some very basic steps. Mutual aid, to me, is how we not defeat government, we just eliminate it. We ignore it and we move on. And, that's how we end the state.
Love it. All right. And you can find Pat. He is the chair of the LNC convention. He's on the oversight committee. He's founder of Libertarian Mutual Aid. And on X, he's Poe Taxpayer. Thanks for doing this, Pat. And I did not put Lars' slide up. Lars is a candidate for U.S. House of Representatives in California District 19. He was also a candidate for president with the LP in 2024. His website is Lars24. The Voting Rights Foundation can be found at votingrights.com. On X, he's Libertarian Lars. And on Facebook, he's Lars2024. And like Pat mentioned, we also are going to be among those illustrious guests at the Libertarian National Convention. So if you've not booked your tickets already, make sure you book them at lnc2026.com if you want to see what we're up to at the Libertarian National Convention on the main stage. We are so excited. We're hoping to get Afro Man. Not cross your fingers for us. That would be really badass. And announcing tonight, we're also going to be at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. So that is July 8th through 11th. Terry's been working on this for like ever and a day. That is freedomfest.com. And if you want to support If you want to go to Freedom Fest, but you also want to support You Are the Power, use the discount code SPIKE100 so they get credit for your registration. They've been pivotal in us getting there, and we love them. So use that SPIKE100 code. It's a great time. We hung out with Lars last time we were there, a bunch of cool people. I mean, it's like really like our Super Bowl. So if you want to go, there's going to be a ton of us there. We're going to have a lot of fun. So also want to jump in and say you can follow me and Terry on X. I am at Smarter Game Show. She's Bats T76. Our swag, our shirts, our mugs are all at freedomsuperstore.com. I am wearing the Make Anarchy Great Again shirt. Terry will put our shorts up on YouTube at Freedom Uncut. We're also on Rumble. And thank you to our Friday night sponsor, Xano. If you're tired of surveillance coins dressed up as freedom tech, Xano is the real deal. Open source, enterprise-grade privacy, scalable and secure, build, spend, and tokenize any asset without the peeping eyes. Xano isn't just private, it's none of their business. And if you're new to the space, a great way to get involved is to visit intro.xano.org to learn how Xano gives you the power to own your own data, your money, and your assets all in one simple, secure platform built for the real world. And we didn't do a Tuesday show, and our Tuesday sponsor is Zoom. If you believe adults should be free to explore their own consciousness and you're looking for a modern, precision-dosed psychedelic experience, check out zoomtrip.com. That's XUMTRIP.com and see what they're building over there. Thank you to both of our sponsors. And like we mentioned, we've been doing a bunch of state conventions. I feel like I've been home for about 12 minutes, and we're about to head back out to Texas next Thursday we leave. That convention is April 10th through 12th. That's going to be a banger. And then we're turning right from there and going to Colorado, April 17th through 18th. And then, like we mentioned, we'll be at the National Convention in Grand Rapids, May 21st through 25th. Thank you to our subscribers, Terry, Amity, Shirley, Dr. Belaine, Lisa, Dan, Chris, Dave, Rob, Papa B, the great Lars Mapstead, who was on the show tonight, is a subscriber, Jay, Anarchist Chef, Heather, Kay, Casey with the They Both Suck podcast on Wednesdays, 8 p.m., Jake Day with the If by Whiskey podcast, Jacob Winograd with the Biblical Anarchy podcast, the great Phil Rain, another member of LP Alliance. And then we also have Brent Freeman, who does the Aiming Up podcast and the Anarcho Syndicate clothing line. And then we've got Grumpy Gnome, who does the 3 Shots In podcast, and our newest subscriber, current vice chair of the party, the great Paul Dar. We appreciate y'all. And if you want to subscribe to us, you can do so on X. This is your backstage pass. And visit email studio@freedomuncut.com if you'd like to sponsor us. And let's jump into the chat real quick and see what's going on. Click the wrong button. Are you reading a book again? Jeez.
I just felt like the introduction went on for 12 years. You said that we need to be brief. I'm halfway through our average now.
I'm paying bills here. I'm a libertarian. I lose $100 a minute on this shit. Liberty Shamrocker's here. Case here. What's up? Happy free day, Chris. Mike Vitko from the Vitko Verdicts here. Scientific Libertarian says Pat Ford is probably just reading a book or something. # nerd alert. Anarchist Chef's here. Nothing in the South starts on time. Was not my fault tonight. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. Minus 100 to free for starting late. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate you. Don't do those Jedi mind tricks on me, CS. Waz is here. What's up, Waz? Waz has got a podcast up too. Check out Waz's podcast. I forget what he called it. The great Amity Lee's here. Amanda got a new haircut, so she got 100 points for that. I cut my hair for every show, just FYI. 200 points to Lars for the game show background. Yeah, it's badass. What is up, y'all? What the Brent? Travis is first and he's 9th somehow. And Travis has got his podcast too. Check that out. Terry told me to say hi. Oh, there you go. That's Lars's little thing, Dangerous News. Check that out. Sup, y'all. $100 to Lars for expanding ballot access. That would be amazing. 200 points to Amanda for being the only one under 50.
That's what you think, by the way. Actually, 85.
Terry took offense to that. You should lose points for that. 200 points to Amanda for the hair. $100 to Lars for the hand-painted background.
I just get points for having hair. It's incredible. I am in the minority on this show. That's true.
Ouch.
100 to Amanda for matching the gray hair with the furniture covers. Hashtag AARP. 100 to Pat. Excuse me. For the 70s drapes. As long as the drapes in never mind. 200 to Pat for getting Afro Man to the LP convention. That's going to be lit. 100 to Pat for doing the show in my college dorm room. What year did you go to college, Si? The great Joe Hanush is here. 100 to Lars Mapstead for running for office with the Libertarian Party. Minus 13 to Pat for not mentioning Are You Smarter Than a Politician will be at the convention. Well, he knew I'd mention it 12 times. Points to Pat for finding a dental mirror that big.
It's my rec room. All right. All that's missing is the wood paneling.
Yeah. Lista's here. What's up? 100 to pay for having a spaceship in the background showing support for NASA. Minus 150 to Pat for the longest contestant intro ever. 100 to Representative Lars. I like that. Infinity to Terry for putting up with Gnome in the chat. That's 100% correct. Minus 100 to Amanda for getting bored. Well,
I was just trying to economize my time.
Minus 200 to Free for clicking the wrong buttons again. There's plenty of that, Casey. So, all right, let's jump into it. Once again, welcome to Are You Smarter Than a Politician? Please share this out. X has hated us since we started talking bad about all of the wars. I already did that. I did that too. All right. So since Trump ruined peace prizes, our grand prize tonight is our own peace prize, the Are You Smarter Than a Peace Prize. We also have Mike Johnson's signature cologne Swamp Ass, as well as the Ayn Rand Fountainhead Teddy Bear. We have the home edition of Are You Smarter Than a Politician, a bunch of bobbleheads, Neoconopoly, the game of global domination if you want to teach your children how to rape the world of resources and kill people. And we also, the TSA was terrible on my last travel, so we decided to do our own TSA training kit. It includes the Grope Practice groin replica if you want to do that.
Nice.
Who needs a piggy bank when you have the central bank? So we have a dollar destroyer so you can ruin your own dollars at home. And we still have the damn Trump nativity set. Please somebody take it. And the Lego Killdozer, because nobody talks about the Killdozer more than me and Casey do. We're not doing the polar plunge. We already did that. If you missed that, we did the polar plunge with Joe Jorgensen. That was awesome. All right. So the rules are: I am the government. Whatever I say goes. Scoring errors count. Life isn't fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. Nobody cares. The rules are: they have one debate, one filibuster. They can veto an answer, tariff an answer, redistribute an answer, and of course, everybody starts off with negative 500 points because the government gets paid first. Here's how scoring works. The chat controls the score. You can give or take up to 100 points from contestants. And because I am the government and I believe in crony capitalism, subscribers can give or take up to 200 points because they pay me, so they matter more. Nuking a score. Any former contestant can nuke a score, taking it down by 1,000 points. The twist is a contestant can only be nuked one time, and it has to be for a good reason. All right. We will put Terry back in the back here. She can
apply to the world.
and the scoring. Make her life extremely difficult. I'm not taking questions, Amanda.
The Earth doesn't have to follow those rules. Like, you can just nuke anyone anytime you want for anything. I don't understand why we're held to a different standard.
No, I can nuke anybody at any time. The former contestants have very limited crony capitalism. So, all right, Lars, to you, the category is foundations of power. Are voters choosing leaders or selecting from pre-approved options?
Well, I mean, this is all I'm working on today. It's totally pre-selected for you. We have the illusion of choice. Ballot access laws don't allow you to get on the ballot. I'm running in California. We have top two where only 2 contestants get to the actual election. There's 60 people running for governor. Only 2 of them will actually be allowed to be voted on. The whole thing is just corrupt and shady. We need to abolish primaries altogether. Get ballot access equal for everybody in every state and make it super simple to get on the ballot so that we have competition. Because right now it's just pay to play, basically. They just pay money, get money, stay, never go away.
Excellent. All right, Amanda, to you. Does power naturally concentrate regardless of who's elected?
Power does concentrate typically because yeah, I mean, again, we have a government that exists to aggrandize itself. So the government is always going to try and build no matter what. Yes, power concentrates no matter who's elected, but the thing is that power can be taken back with citizen action, and that's what we need to do. We go to where power is concentrated and we seize it.
Totally. All right, Pat, to you. Is the government designed to serve the public or preserve itself?
Not only is it self-fulfilling prophecy, it is its own perpetual motion machine, the motion being the constant consumption of human liberty. It is in and of itself its own self-perpetuating cancer. So it has no boundaries. It is like a tumor that grows incessantly. Some great ideas are proffered up to government. Government takes them, perverts them, makes them their own, profits from them, and the connected. So yeah, absolutely.
All right. Lars, back to you. The category is the structure of control. Is the system too complex for voters to meaningfully control?
Yeah, it's not really that it's complex. It's just that it's rigged into oblivion. I think that voters are actually pretty smart and they can figure it out. But you can't do it if the system is so broken that you can't even participate. I mean, there's literally elections going on all over the country right now where there's only one candidate running because everybody knows it's so rigged that it's just not even worth even participating. So you literally have just shoe-in incumbents that just get elected over and over again because everybody's given up because they know that it's rigged. And so the only way that we're going to save our republic is to basically, level the playing field and create competition in American politics. Otherwise, we're going to get more of the same and worse of the same. And when they don't have competition, they have no incentive to do well for the American people or their constituents. The only thing that they have to work for is the donors that give them the money and the corporations that give them the money, and we need to end that.
Totally agree. Amanda, to you. Do unelected agencies effectively make the real laws?
Yes, and this is by design because making laws is incredibly unpopular because everyone gets upset when you try to take their freedom. So what happens is that the elected Congress people are able to kick the can over to bureaucrats who don't have any accountability to the voters, and the bureaucrats do the dirty work, and it also makes it so much harder to follow. Bureaucracy is just centralization with an alibi, and that's what we have going on today.
All right, Pat, to you. Are rules written to be followed or selectively enforced?
Well, consider that the rules are effectively written by those who the rules should be enforced upon, and as a result are thoroughly unenforceable. I don't know that it matters because, again, take even the fundamentals of free speech for me, but not for thee. Take taxation. Taxation is a targeted weapon by government to incentivize economies of scale and production for those who actually write the understand that. For example, the IRS. You talk about unelected agencies. The IRS writes the regulations that actually enforce, manage, and maintain the tax laws that are permeated and created by Congress. So it's a combination of both. They're selectively enforced and they're put in place to create a solution for those they want to benefit.
All right. Lars, back to you. The category is two-party gatekeeping. Is ballot access intentionally designed to block outsiders?
100%. I mean, that's the whole goal here. Like the reality of it is, and most people don't understand, is that every state gets to write the rules, and they all figure out ways to corrupt the system and manipulate the system to best benefit their party and their fiefdom. And it's absolutely created to just keep everybody out and nobody participating. And we've got to change that. And if we don't change it, I predict that we will have more political violence in America, and that eventually we'll end up with civil war or bloodshed based on the fact that people aren't being heard and they're not being represented.
Interesting. Amanda, to you. Do the two major parties act more like a cartel than competitors?
Yeah, so this is the thing. When you talk about revolution, you talk about two different types of revolution. There's social and there's political. Political revolution is when basically it's just about power changing hands, and that's what we have when the two major parties compete. It's okay, Democrats, the Republicans, the Democrats, the Republicans. That is what they're going for. It's just the political policies kind of changing hands. Libertarian Party is different. We are a revolutionary party insofar as we want to fundamentally change the system, and that is a more social project. So yes, right now it operates as a cartel. It's all about just having the power change hands, but not actually giving the power to people.
I agree. All right, Pat, to you. Would more parties actually improve outcomes?
Absolutely. First of all, understand that ballot formation laws and ballot access and party formation laws are voter suppression. They are, in fact, voter suppression. And by the way, liberals, particularly progressives, love it when you explain that to them. Would more party... You have the opportunity for individual schools of thought within the major parties to flower under their own roof. There are subtle but important differences, for example, on the progressive left, when you look at the Party for Socialism and Liberation, Working Family Party, Democratic Socialists, all of those have their own genre. And that, in effect, will allow these parties to focus on their target audience. So it'll increase voter participation, it'll increase interest in democracy, and ultimately will allow those philosophies to flower.
All right. Lars, back to you. Category is election integrity and ballot access. Lars, you're going to start thinking I wrote these questions for you. Does voter ID increase trust or suppression in participation?
Well, I think it depends on which party you're in, whether you like that or not.
Well, your mic is tripping or something, I think.
Oh.
Did something happen?
Hello? Test. 1, 2, 3. No?
Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, it sounds like a frog robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, robot.
Okay, well,
The vote voter going on.
is that better?
Nope, same. It's like all broken up.
Have
Okay,
him leave, and I'll just give us answers for him.
Ask me, and
Why
I'll
don't you
switch
leave?
the mic. I'll switch the mic.
Yeah, why
I'll
don't
switch-
you? Yeah, why don't you leave and come back in, and I'll go to Amanda next.
Okay.
All right, Amanda, to you. Is it too difficult for independent candidates to compete?
Generally speaking, absolutely. Partly because of ballot access laws, which are incredibly stringent in every state, and also because once you get elected, it's very difficult to remain independent. Right? You need to make deals. You need to do. You need to play gamesmanship. So that's why we can't only rely on the institutions that we currently have to make things better for us. Even if we get libertarians into office, we just don't have that critical mass yet. So we build that critical mass partly by doing the activism that's so important, getting the libertarian name out there so that then when people see a libertarian candidate, they know who we are, they know what we stand for. But yeah, it is a messy road. And once you get into office, the battle is just starting in terms of getting libertarian policy.
All right. Lars, are you back with us?
Yeah, how's this? Is this better?
Yeah, that's better. Yep.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to your question. Your question,
Okay.
Lars, was, does voter ID increase trust or suppress participation?
Yeah, I think that it increases trust for some people and it suppresses participation for other people. I think that if we're going to do voter ID, the one thing that I have always said, and it was part of my Voters' Bill of Rights, is that if we're going to do voter ID, then the government has to allow every citizen to get the voter ID for free. And, honestly, I think that, that I've thought about this a lot. I have I own stocks, and when you own stocks, they ask you to vote on it. And there's 5 companies that do basically electronic voting for stocks, and it's one of the most regulated industries in America. And somehow we can't figure out how to vote. But the financial system is able to do it with tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people, every week. And so I think I think this is just sort of a thing to, it's a culture war issue is basically what it is. And that it's not actually fixing the real problem. And that is that we do need to feel like our votes are being counted, that we're being heard. And, I had a whole bunch of that stuff in our, in my voting Bill of Rights, where, the individual citizen can audit all the elections. They can audit any of the voter code, that it should be all open source, that if you've lost your right to vote because you're a felon, once you've paid your time, you should be allowed to vote again. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that, that we can go into there, but yeah, I think it's turned into a culture war issue, and it's not actually going to solve any problem either way, because it's just going to piss everybody off.
Totally agree. All right, Pat, to you. Should election processes be simplified nationwide?
Yes. It's really that straightforward. We've got this Byzantine set of laws, this Byzantine set of qualifications. There should be a universal standard, not one enforced by an overarching federal government, but the rules are complex intentionally, and the rules are designed to gatekeep. And as a result, each municipality, each locality, each unique part of our national geography has its own approach, which ultimately was created out of some desire to suppress an individual community, whether it be in the inner city, over generations, different ethnic groups, different racial groups. All of this was created for suppression, just like borders. So if you simplify it, put together a list, allow largely anyone to run, we'll have greater voter participation, we'll have greater satisfaction, we'll have greater buy-in to hopefully whatever limited impact government has on our life moving forward. And as a result, you'll have a higher standard of performance in what is hopefully a much smaller government.
Absolutely. All right, Lars, back to you. The category is political incentives and self-preservation. Do politicians act primarily to get reelected?
Once the thing is that you need money to get elected, and once you're elected, the donors come to give you money and buy you out, and then you have the money to keep going, and so it's just perpetual. And there really is no incentive for any elected official to actually do what their constituents want, because when, like in California as an example, the guy I'm running against, he's going to win probably with 70% of the vote again. And the reason is because if in the top two it's a Republican and a Democrat, what's the choice? Like, no Democrat is going to vote for the Republican, so he's just a shoo-in, right? And if it's two Democrats, he's still going to win just because he has the outsized money from all the donors, right? He's gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars from defense industry, and then he's voting to support the defense industry. I mean, it's so gross right now, and it feels like the politicians are getting more and more brazen. They literally just don't care. They look down on the citizens and the voters, and it makes me sick to my stomach, really, honestly. And it's one of the reasons I run, is just to call attention to the bull crap that is our electoral system and the way we run our elections. It pisses me off.
Same, brother, same. Amanda, to you. Is long-term thinking incompatible with political survival?
For the people, no, absolutely not. In fact, it's imperative. For politicians, the thing is, we don't think long-term because we have such a low interest rate society. I've said this before, where it's not valuable to do anything long-term, because it's just, we are conditioned to want to spend our time quickly, spend our money quickly, just get the newest thing. And you see this playing out when it comes to not just investments, but when it comes to office holding as well, that people want to think in short term, especially, no offense to Lars, but with the House in particular. right? You see House representatives go nuts because they're always campaigning. So they're always incredibly hyperbolic. They're always incredibly rabid, but no policy is getting made. No liberty is actually getting perpetuated. So yeah, for the politician, you can't have long-term thinking for the people and continue to get elected. As an individual, as someone who is part of this system and trying to upset it, absolutely, we got to think in terms of the long game.
Totally agree.
Yep.
All right. Next question is to you, Pat. Do term limits solve corruption or just rotate it?
We're at a moment in history when most elected officials, well, if you're a football fan, you'd understand that it's like NFL coaches. You've got the same cast of characters, the usual suspects, and they, even if they're different people, they're really the same people. There's no, hey, if you did a Coke, Pepsi, Royal Crown Cola taste test on politicians and you put them under shrouds, you wouldn't know who they were if you simply saw what their written responses were. So yeah, it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And unfortunately, until we move to a point where we're post-government, and that can happen now. It literally can. It's at Libertarian Mutual Aid. It's actually already happening. Again, we don't fight the government. We simply are created systems to ignore it and move past it. And that's a matter of thinking, quite frankly. I get back to the term apparatchik. The fools who run our government aren't capable of really challenging because they don't understand it, because they're such programmed individuals. So to me, that's the solution. Mutual aid, creating our own systems, creating our own government, walking past all of it.
All right. Enter your scores in the chat if you've not done so already. Please
Taxation
share this
theft.
out again.
I just want them to know it's like taxation theft. So.
All right. Please share this out again. Try to help us bust the algorithm. It's really pissing me off. Pretty much all of it pisses me off. And all right, so let's jump into the chat, see what's going on. Addison's here. What's up, Addison? Points to Lars for the shirt. Points to me for the TSA prize. That's awesome. Points to Lars for the illusion of choice. Minus to Amanda for trying to expand satirical war powers. Commie.
Yeah, I'll nuke you.
Points to Lars fix ballet access. Ballet. Are we talking about dancing? I don't know what we're talking about.
I want to get to the ballet bar.
Yeah. Amanda, just go with ballet. No,
ballet access.
Points to Lars for unrig the system. Points to Lars for abolishing primaries. Points to Lars for being in my top 2. Is that? I don't even know what
it's Lars and
points,
Pat because Joe hates me. So.
Okay. Points to Lars to eliminate pay to play systems. Points to Lars for voting the hardest. Points to Amanda. She needs to win so she can buy scratch paper. That's the famous Amanda Festo that's on her desk. I think a lot of it's about me. Points to Amanda for seize the power. Points to Pat. Government is cancer. Points to Amanda for kitchen treadmill to make sure her refrigerator is always running.
I liked that one.
That's awesome. He's got a great show. If you've never seen Mike's show, it's really good. He's a very smart guy. I only understand about 12% of it. Points to Pat for being one of the good ones, for sure. Points to Amanda, love the desk.
Thank you.
Points to Pat for taking politics and turning into science fiction written novel. Heartland News Feeds here. What's up? Points to Amanda, just buy some scratch paper. Points to Lars for abolishing primaries. Points to Lars for saying voters are smart. Points to Lars, unrig the system. Points to Lars for not being a corporation. Points to Lars for the honest take. Points to Pat, the rules are for the rule makers who make the rules and don't follow the rules. Points to Pat for thee and not me. Points to Lars for channeling Luigi. Oh boy. No, and we're up YouTube again. Points to Lars for ironically laughing at the rigged system of ballot access. If we weren't laughing, we'd be crying. Points to Lars, populist is not represented. HVAC soldiers here. What's up? The demon publicans have a political cartel. I like that. Points to Amanda for answering every question like a Russian spy would. Points to Amanda for calling out the DC cartel. Points to Amanda, we are a revolutionary party. Points to Pat for mentioning all those other parties I've already forgotten about. Points to Pat, more parties. Minus to Pat for advocating for democracy. I'm against mob rule myself, so I'm with them on that. Points to Amanda, my favorite contestant tonight, and back to the Halloween show. The Halloween show was just so
We
bad.
tried to do an April Fool's show, and Free wouldn't let us. So you could have gotten double the
We were
trust.
gonna
double
do
the Frida.
We were going to do an April Fool's show, but we're trying to get our county going again in Florida. So I actually went to a county meeting. You should be
I'm
proud of me.
trying to get permanent revolution going over here.
You
So
should be proud of me and not shaming me.
There.
Points to Lars for being an AI bot the whole time. Yeah, we were on you, but points to Amanda for Frobot. Minus to Lars for sounding like RFK. That is awesome. Points to Lars for Frog Robot. David's here. What's up, David? Minus to Lars for the Radio Shack microphone. I have a feeling that Lars is out of the bracket of shopping at my Radio Shack. Points to Lars since his microphone was gargling pop rocks. I think you got points out of ruining the show for a minute there. Points to Amanda. She totally gets it. Points to Amanda for offering to answer Lars' question. She took over the show. Free your neck. Oh, you missed the one where she literally took over the show.
That was the Halloween show.
No, you took over another one where you just got sick of my bullshit. You got sick of my bullshit like minutes in and just ran roughshod over the whole show. Dan's here. What's up, Dad? Points to Lars for turning it off and turning it back on again. Great IT crowd reference. Points to Lars for fixing his tech issues without importing offshore labor. Points to Lars, tell him his mic works only with the correct answer. Points to Lars for voter ID. Points to Lars for electronic voting. Points to Lars for being a professional stock voter person thingy. That's literally what I heard. Points to Lars, felons who are released should be able to vote. 1 billion points to Terry. A second billion if we see her cake dance again. Oh, I can make that happen. The cake dance. Where is it? There we go. There she is. There she is.
Oh my gosh.
There she is.
Excellent.
That broke the internet. All right. Points to Pat. I own 6 Fords, all Hot Wheels. Points to Lars for shitting all over the grotesqueness of moneyed interest in politics. Points to Lars if he hides a Where's Waldo in his next background. Hide me in there somewhere. Points to Amanda for the cool hair. You're getting hair points.
I know. Well, I mean, I can understand why. This is a distinct advantage I have over the rest of y'all.
Yep.
I have hair, like 12 of them.
See, you know, like 3 hairs.
Points to Lars, politicians to get reelected. Points to Lars for saying money in elections is gross. Points to Amanda, we're an instant gratification society. Points to Amanda for having the most flair. But here at Tchotchke's, we require 15 pieces. Yeah, Scientific's in charge of monitoring that for the game show. Points to Amanda for getting her arm exercises in while answering questions. Points to Amanda for trying to upset the system. Points to Pat for saying the usual suspects. Pat, 200 points. The great Paul Dars here. What's up, Paul? Points to Pat, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Points to Pat if he says with a name like Smuckers, it has to be good. Points to Pat for ignoring the government. Wait up to that. 200 for Pat. I forgot I'm a subscriber now. Oh yeah, you can bonus that. Points to Pat for succinct answers. Points to Amanda for the L tag. Points to Pat, new boss, same as the old boss. Points to Amanda, taxation is theft. Points to Lars, voter ID should be free. Points to Pat for answering football questions, soda taste test answers. Points to Amanda for taxation is theft, but minus 13 for interrupting free.
Fair.
100 to Pat for the sports metaphor. I'd understand better if I watch sports. Points to Lars for the shirt in the background. Minus to Amanda for interrupting me. That's fair. Points to Amanda for answering a question with only one hand. Yeah, she's talented. Minus 1,000 to Free for not doing an April Fool's show. Yeah, the joke was on me. The great Rob Yates is here running for LNC chair. Points to Amanda for being awesome. And then also points to Amanda for VC. All right, we made it through it. That was a lot. Oh, we got a lot of points too. No wonder.
Do we?
All right. Lars in the lead, 3,036 points. Amanda in second, 2,888. Pat just behind, 2,582. Let's jump back into it here. All right, Lars, to you. Oh, this is sponsored by Xano, our Friday night sponsor. Thank you for being a sponsor. Lars, the category is cryptocurrency. Will digital assets play a major role in breaking centralized power?
Yeah, I think it's definitely got an option to do that. I think it has. Yeah, I think it could do that. The idea here is that we have to break free of the central banks around the world and the cartels that capture our productivity. Because let's face it, central banks basically rob you blind by printing money and stealing from you, just the same as taxation. We all say taxation is theft, but the Federal Reserve is equally or worse because it's insidious. At least with taxation, they know you know that you're getting bent over and stolen from. With the Federal Reserve, they just kind of sneakily steal from you every second of every day as the debt goes up. So, I'm hopeful that we cannot have central bank digital currency, that we're not forced to use that kind of crap, and that we have the freedom to transact in the nature that we want, whether it be gold or crypto or chickens or whatever the hell we want to transact in. The government should not really have any say in how we freely transact our business and our affairs.
Absolutely. Amanda, to you, does cryptocurrency weaken insider control over money?
Apropos of nothing, I'd first like to say, and the Fed, that's for you, Amity. And secondly, it does. Here's the issue, though, is that when it's so regulated, I'm going to do two hands, one hand, you're not even going to know. When it's so regulated, it causes, it causes things to stagnate. It causes innovation to stagnate, and it also causes our ability to take more agency over our finances, causes that to stagnate too. So yes, it has potential to weaken that grip, but the problem is that the more we see people try and declare these things assets that can then be regulated and micromanaged, the more risk there is.
Totally. All right, Pat, to you. Should the government leave crypto alone?
Of course, they should leave crypto alone, but the beauty of privacy coin is they no longer have a choice in whether or not they want to leave it alone. I want to draw just a very powerful historical analogy. In 1968, the Soviet workers' paradise invaded Czechoslovakia, and much like most of World War II, that invasion was followed by looting, theft of personal assets, stealing of gold and virtually every type of wealth. Move forward now to the current day, and if you've invested in digital currency, in digital assets, the government doesn't have the ability to do that on a base level, and particularly if you've chosen a crypto coin. So if you one day wake up to shelling in Kiev, you go to an internet cafe, you move your wealth somewhere else, it's out there, and it's easily accessible when you get to Paris. And number one, you save the future wealth of your family. Number two, you eliminate the government's ability to abscond with it. It's a powerful moment in history because we are moving post-government with regard to personal assets. And that's how you ultimately cripple, war nations like, the United States as one of them, but also Soviet Union and all the other invasion-based economies. It's true, Trump can steal the oil from any one of a number of nations, but he can't get the digital currency. And that's why privacy coins mean everything to us right now. Thank you for the time.
That was dangerously close to using your filibuster there. All right, Lars, to you. Is widespread crypto adoption now inevitable?
Yeah, for sure. The thing is right now, there's, I think the thing that's getting adopted the most right now is stable coins. And those are being adopted a lot. But I did want to throw out one thing. I just saw that California has just passed a new law, because California loves to pass laws that infringe on everything. And the law is that if your crypto is sitting in an account for more than 3 years and you haven't, updated it or logged in or whatever, they're claiming it as unclaimed property. and they're seizing the crypto assets into the state of California. So heads up on that. And could you throw the question back up? I just wanted to make sure I got. Yeah. So yes, absolutely. We're going to have more and more cryptocurrency is going to be adopted and used, and you're seeing it all over the world as people lose faith in their central banks. And all central banks should just be abolished, light them on fire, burn them to the ground, and we'd all be way better off.
So you can either pay capital gains or you can lose everything. Is basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's genuinely wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And government won't be able to enforce taxation if they can't find your wealth.
Well, right. I mean, government hates a competitor, and if you're competing with government money, they're screwed, especially now.
Yeah. All right. Amanda, to you, is crypto a legitimate tool for financial freedom?
It is legitimate in the sense that any way of resisting the state is inherently legitimate because the state is the permanent aggressor. The state could call it illegitimate insofar as the state is what declares, on paper, what is legitimate. But yes, I think in the way that you're using the term legitimate, it is absolutely a way to obtain financial freedom. It's one of those situations where you see people in countries that are war-torn, in countries that are totalitarian, be able to escape that and to be able to acquire some independence. And I really, really value the potential of decentralized finance and crypto. Generally speaking, I think we're just getting started with it.
I was using it in the only legitimate way, of course. Yeah. Back to you. Are attacks on crypto really about protecting control?
This question's for me?
Yep.
Okay, great. You can throw it back up there for a second. First of all, the most fundamental tenet of government is that everything is about control. And so by taxing it, number one, they can live off the wealth. Number two, by taxing it, as importantly, they can force you to disclose its location. Because the threat of imprisonment, the use of force, like a government like the United States, is run by fear. And so the fear of being imprisoned will stimulate a lot of folks to find out where it is, because that's the only way the government is going to tax it. That's why we need to move to a post-government economy. We can't wait for it to happen. We can't wait for someone else to do it. There's ways that each one of us on an individual basis, on a daily basis, can do it themselves.
Absolutely. We should all do that. Lars, back to you. The category is government spending and debt expansion. Does the government ever seriously attempt to reduce spending? I love when you start laughing before I finish the question. I always like to point out that the questions aren't stupid. It's the government that's stupid. But go ahead.
Yes. I mean, of course they don't. What incentive do they have to treat you spend your money wisely and efficiently? If they burn through your money, like in California, and they pay $18 billion from some train and do eminent domain and steal people's lands, and then never build the freaking train, and then leave all the buildings uninhabitable, and then be like, whoops, but we should finish it. So can we get another 18 billion? And we're just going to give it to all our friends and contractors, and Pelosi and Newsom are all in on it, and they're all getting hand jobs in the back of the fucking train. And Pelosi just got a train named after her in California, and the grift is unbelievable at this point, and it's like it's maddening. We're what, $39 trillion in debt. The only solution that I see to getting us out of this debt is if we have a miraculous growth of our GDP. We need to just grow GDP like massively, and then maybe we could do it. We should chop spending dramatically, freeze it, cut the government. It's just so much fraud, waste, and abuse. Everybody sees it. They don't even hide anymore. They're just laughing at us. It just pissed me off. Sorry.
Not sure I liked Pelosi, train, and hand job all in the same night.
Is she pulling that economic train? Is that what's happening?
Oh boy. Some call it Amtrak, others call it the train. All right. Amanda, to you. Are voters addicted to benefits they can't afford?
I mean, here's the thing. They'd be able to afford them if it weren't the government charging them for it. As Lars was just saying, the government has no incentive to drive down prices or drive down costs for consumers or for taxpayers. So there are plenty of things that we should have. There are plenty of things that we should have access to that we are restricted from as a result of the government, having its stranglehold on that distribution of resources and having that stranglehold on who gets a contract to do what. So I wouldn't say that we're addicted to things we can't afford. I'd say government is addicted to keeping us from being able to afford things that we should all have and would in a truly market-based system.
True. All right, Pat, to you. Does spending buy votes?
Absolutely. Here in Socialist Workers Paradise, Rhode Island, we have a constant stream of what I call big fat check ceremonies, the golf check ceremonies. These public spectacles where United States senators, congressmen, local officials show up and hand out the big check. It's a very powerful moment, not just because of the money, but because of the public display of power, the transfer of that wealth from the government to that blessed chosen individual in non-for-profit is a demonstration of force to everyone watching, everyone within the service area of that particular nonprofit, and it says to them, you will comply. And that's how you will be allowed these benefits. It's a 21st equivalent of the Soviet stores, and they're handing out enormous amounts of money. I will tell you that the single biggest challenge facing our economy in terms of GDP growth is this new obsession with not-for-profits, because what you're creating is a special class of citizen who, at the corporate level, evades profits and has unfettered access to pay themselves in one of the largest transfer of wealth in American history from government tax collections to these quote unquote nonprofits. And the incentive is so powerful that, I work in the homeless space a lot as a volunteer. For $2,400 a month, we deliver to half of the state of Rhode Island. These folks do not want to end homelessness. They seek homelessness and their control over the means of personal wealth as a way of keeping the money spout going. They don't want to end homelessness. They don't want to end addiction. They don't want to end tobacco smoking. They don't want to end alcoholism. They want to end none of it because it is inordinately profitable for them and allows them incredible power over people's day-to-day lives.
Absolutely. Lars, back to you. Categories: wealth transfer and hidden extraction. Does government policy quietly move wealth upward?
Yeah, 100%. The Federal Reserve, it basically through the cotillion effect, I think it's called. Basically, when the government is printing the money, the government hands the money to the banks. The banks hand the money to the corporations, and by the time it trickles down to the regular citizen, the inflation has already kicked in, and they're the ones end up holding the bag. So yes, it's 100% screwed. And also, I'm going to give 100 points to Pat because that was a great rant on the homeless industrial complex, because the government is just trash when it comes to helping people.
Absolutely, it is. All right, Amanda, to you. Are subsidies and bailouts forms of wealth transfer?
Absolutely. There's really not there's not a better example of that than having government subsidies and having corporate subsidies and corporate bailouts. There is a market that is being curtailed in terms of its development as a result of the fact that the government likes to pick winners and losers. They like to give rich people more benefits because the rich people are the ones that are able to subsidize politicians' existence. So it's a big back and forth. I don't know if you'd even call it a wealth transfer at this point, because it's really just changing hands between politicians and some corporate CEO back and forth.
Right. All right. To you, Pat. Is wealth redistribution oh boy, long week.
In reverse. So I assume by that you mean
hold on. Is wealth redistribute? Oh my God! Now I'm permanently stuck my foot in my mouth. Happening in reverse. That's the end of the question.
What happening in reverse?
Oh,
Well, what was it? What? Yes, at an alarming rate. So again, let's talk about, as Lars so aptly put it, the homeless industrial complex. There's big money helping the poor. We have a not-for-profit with a $24 million salary that pays its CEO $400,000, and part of their job is to run a warming center, and people sleep on the floors. All right. So what is the purpose of that organization? The realized purpose of that organization is to take money from the middle class, whose effective tax rate is very often higher than the vaunted wealthy, and take that money and push it downward, then back upward, with a disproportionate share being accorded these six-figure, sometimes seven-figure CEO salaries. If you were to, I would say to every libertarian, the next snowstorm or you're stuck indoors one day, go and Google 990, the Form 990 of names you know as not-for-profits. And right on the front page, what's unique about the 990 is that the salary structures of the top executives are disclosed in bold living color. And when you see what names you know, I'm not going to mention them here, but there's dozens of them where people are literally getting generational wealth helping the poor. Yeah, you're damn straight that it's being pushed down and then plunged like a toilet right back up. It's grotesque.
Grotesque, like me pronouncing words. In my defense, for all those of you that are jumping on me in the chat, deservedly so. I'm from Chicago. We usually have words only be one syllable, even if they were 3 or 4
I went to
syllables.
school in Chicago. That's such BS.
That's not true. That's not
It
true.
is true. It is completely true.
What school did you go to? You didn't go to like
Chicago. I went to Chicago.
You went to Chicago?
Yes, I
Holy,
have MA there.
holy cow.
And,
All right.
and now we know.
All bow before you. Holy,
yeah,
thank you.
exactly.
Now I got a name drop. Yeah.
She went for ballet, so that was no.
Wait, you are the intellectual class now.
Yeah.
Am I really? Oh gosh.
Yeah, if we have a cultural revolution, you're screwed.
Oh shoot. Well, can I like mastermind it and then be okay for at least a little while until I'm like 60-ish?
Yeah, I'll work for you on that.
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah.
All right. Let's hope this is a much easier category. All right. Lars, to you. Categories: corporate welfare and political favoritism. Do large corporations benefit most from government policy?
100%. And I wanted to say that the government is great at stealing $100 from you through taxation and then giving you $13 back and saying, we're here to buy your vote, basically. And the cronyism is alive and well in America. Corporations donate to both parties equally. The same corporation donates to both parties because why not just own it all? They don't even hide it anymore, right? And the thing is the government controls all the regulations and all the ways that you can do business. I was just reading an article about how media companies are all falling over and folding over because the FCC chairman right now is basically, he holds the keys of the kingdom. He can literally deny them their license to transact business. And so they're all turning towards more right-leaning positions. And they're just folding over because the government controls who gets to talk and who doesn't get to talk. And I last time I checked, we had this First Amendment thing that was so that the government wouldn't stifle people's ability to talk. But apparently, the FCC chairman right now doesn't think that that's a problem at all, and thinks that controlling media is totally purview of this administration, which is a bunch of crap, in my opinion.
I'm thinking that's for me.
Amanda, should the government ever pick winners and losers?
I mean,
No.
I want to just say yes because the answer is so obvious. I want to feel like I have to defend something here. Should the government ever pick winners and losers? No, it shouldn't. This is planning, and then this is why you just have. It's just a horseshoe when it comes to state communism and state capitalism, because either way, what you're doing is you are having a political class decide who gets to have the distribution of capital, or rather who is allowed to distribute capital, who's allowed to hold capital. Government shouldn't be doing that, because there's always an interest that the government has in making things more expensive, in concentrating wealth at the top, and in keeping incumbents out. And there's always an interest that the businesses have in becoming larger, more bloated, not caring about either the consumer or the worker, and just getting those handouts. No, the government shouldn't be doing that, because that also limits competition, always in all places.
Totally. Pat, to you, is corporate lobbying a form of corruption?
All right. First of all, I just have to reference the prior question. Sports stadiums, by the way, are the ultimate example of governments picking winners and losers because of the tax-based subsidies they provide through something called tax incremental financing, which never pays the bills on these stadiums and effectively transfers sports ball and the sports ball industries back to the taxpayers. Can you float that question back up there again one more time with feeling?
Is corporate lobbying a form of
All right,
corruption?
you see, I'm going to go against the grain on this, because it would be easy for me to say yes, because, I've met I spend a lot of time in the Rhode Island State House. I meet some pretty disgusting lobbyists. I mean, I have legions of stories I'll tell you in Grand Rapids. But ultimately, everyone has the right to engage with their government to promote their self-interest. And the problem is that the smaller businesses, folks who have, we call them in New England ham and egger businesses, basic family restaurants, small manufacturing companies, don't band together enough. We're doing it in Rhode Island, by the way, band together enough to gain the economies of scale in the political marketplace that you need to combat the established companies who have, chief of government relation type jobs. The answer is never to eliminate free speech. It's just for folks on the lower end of the economic spectrum in terms of entrepreneurial activities to just get better at fighting in the same arena that the big guys do.
All right. Enter your scores in the chat if you've not done so already. I will not be reading any comments with big words in it. I can't believe I screwed that up.
All of my fans are about to get screwed. They're the ones that use big words.
Yeah. No University of Chicago words. Public schools in Chicago words would be better.
You changed everything.
$100 break free from the central banks. Points to Lars for shitting on central banking. Points to Lars for rigging the system. Points to Amanda for end the Fed. Points to Lars for chicken bartering and no CBDCs. Points to Lars for trading with chickens. Points to Amanda for ending the Fed. Point farming. Point farming. There we go. Points to Lars. Background art is impressive. Finally, AI is good for something. His background is awesome. Points to Pat for the history lesson. Points to Pat for the powerful historical analogy. What's up, Twilight Sparkle? Points to Amanda for using non-offensive hand gestures this time. Yeah, that was nice of you. Points to Pat. Government should leave crypto. It's nice that they don't have a choice with privacy coins. Points to Pat for tax evasion tips. Those are always helpful this time of year. Points to Pat for almost going Scott Horton. That's true. Points to Pat for the tactical window blinds. Points to Pat. Crypto privacy coins are safety. Points to Lars. The government should not have a say in our transactions. Points to Lars that California law is bull hockey. Points to Lars for being hopeful. And another 82 to Lars for having chickens. -3 to Lars for living in a state that loves to pass laws. Points to Amanda, the state is illegitimate. Points to Pat, both the government and myself cannot find my wealth. Points to Lars, California government is evil. Satoshi better show address before his Bitcoins go bye-bye. Nick's here. What's up, Nick? -100 to anyone that doesn't believe that our government created Bitcoin. Maybe co-opted it. Maybe the CIA. It's out there. Points to Pat for advocating for hiding wealth. Points to Pat, the base word is government equals control. Points to Pat for clarifying it was his question. -100 to Amanda for the same reasons.
Wait, did I clarify it?
I don't know. You like to take control sometimes.
I do. I'm the
Points.
government.
Yeah, points to Pat. Correct. Government is all about control and fear. Points to Lars for the ironic laugh again. The government will never reduce spending. Points to Lars for the train to nowhere. Points to Pat. Post-government economy, sign me up. Points to Lars for citing abuse of eminent domain. Points to Lars for finding humor in the darkness of government. Points to Pat for the Soul Asylum reference. There we go. Points to Pat for big fat socialist paradise in Rhode Island. Points to Pat, spending buys votes. Can anyone say APAC? Points to Pat for having the comfiest looking chair. That is true. Points. Amanda looks like she has an albino rooster on her
I
head.
saw that and I almost started laughing like while Pat was talking. That's amazing.
Weird, 'cause Nomi is usually so nice to everybody in the chat. That's an unusual one. Points to Lars if we don't get kicked off of YouTube. Points to Pat. Points to Larry and points to Scott for apparently for long answers. Points to Pat, spending buys votes. Points to Amanda, I forgot why. I trust the plan. It was a good reason. Points to Pat for the government not wanting to fix issues. Points to Amanda, F subsidies. Points to Amanda for the ADHD doodles.
Writing their words.
She went to University of Chicago. She's complex. She has some stuff. Points to Amanda for trying to get free to say redistribution. Points to Pat, accurate. You're damn straight. Yes, I am. Points to Free for channeling Gavin Newsom's dyslexia. Here we go. Minus to Free for skipping English class that one day. Oh, it was way more than one day. I went to Columbia College, which is the exact opposite of University of Chicago. Points to Free for Hooked on Phonics reference. If they want to sponsor me, I will screw up all of the questions. Points to me for the big words. Thanks, Amity. She was literally yelling from the other room. Minus to Pat. Don't tell me what to do. I'll Google nothing. Dan's dead for me trying to read. Points to me for sounding it out phonetically. We already did that one. Minus to Lars for being so rich. His first assumption is the government will take his Points to Lars. Government doesn't have to hide it anymore. Points to Lars. Cronyism isn't even hidden anymore. Points to Lars. Government is great at stealing your money. Points to Amanda for surviving Chicago.
I love Chicago. I'm about to move back. It's gonna be fun.
I don't get points for that. Points to Amanda. I went to Chicago one time, decided that was plenty. I went there one time, but it lasted decades. Points to Lars for the First Amendment. Points to everyone just because, and minus a bunch to the FCC because F the FCC. I agree with that. Points to Amanda. Go who? Nah, I've never heard of Go White Sox. Go White Sox.
Cubes. You can't sign it up.
The chokers. Points to Amanda for filling all the dead air. Points to Amanda for classing Chicago. That's probably true.
You're welcome.
Points to Pat for denying subsidies for sports ball. Points to Amanda for awareness of state communism and state capitalism. Points to Pat for channeling Kanye West on Amanda's brilliant answer. Points to Pat one more time with feeling. Points to Amanda for Chicago. Points to Pat, but Mama said fool's ball is the devil. Serendipitous point. Oh boy.
Very good.
That was pretty close. And points to Amanda for the best green screen on the internet. Oh boy. I am now actively rooting against Amanda. And
Why?
That's working out for me because Lars, my subscriber and my favorite contestant, is in first with 6,058 points. Amanda just behind with
You guys
her
don't take that from me.
U of Chicago Smarty Pants stuff, 59.88. Oh, and Pat's just 48 behind, 59.40. Let's jump back into it here. Lars, back to you. The category is criminal justice and system incentives. Is criminal justice in need of major structural reform?
100%. I mean, yes, we have to get rid of civil asset forfeiture. We have to end qualified immunity. The thing is that it's a lot like the education system. There's a lot of really bad actors in the police and the criminal justice system, and they're protected by the government. They are protected. Their jobs are protected, and when they do really bad stuff, it's just people look the other way. And it's as Pat said earlier, rules for thee and not for me. that's pretty much everywhere. And there are some good people in criminal justice, but there's a lot of really bad actors, and they're not held accountable because they get to hide behind the shield of the state. And I think that if we are going to have trust in our criminal justice system, that it has to be transparent, and we have to end the protections that protect the bad actors. The whole thing is if you harm other people and you do harm, then you need to pay restitution. And right now the system protects those people, and that is the hypocrisy is not lost on the American people. They see it, they know what's going on, and they see the injustice. And so, yeah, we definitely have to reform criminal justice.
Totally agree. Amanda, do you? Is justice too often different for the connected and the poor?
Yeah, we absolutely have. I don't even know if it's 2 tiers anymore. We have many tiers of policing. We have many tiers of criminal justice. You look at one example is the plea bargain. It's much more profitable, or rather it's much less costly for someone who is lower income to take a plea bargain and basically, say I'm guilty regardless, than it is to actually fight in court. And people who are wealthier are able to have that chance, able to have that option. So yeah, the system is absolutely rigged in favor of people who can afford to pay to get off, and not so much for people who are able to flood the prisons and keep the prison guard unions happy, because it was the prison guard unions that lobbied for mandatory minimums. And I like reminding people of that.
It's a great point. All right, Pat, to you. Does the justice system reward convictions more than truth?
Absolutely. First of all, the central problem with our criminal justice system is that we reward the police and the criminal justice system for success in incarcerating people. We don't reward them for finding ways to minimize or ameliorate the impact of crime. That's the first problem. We have a saying, by the way, at my organization: in the halls of justice, justice, in fact, is usually found in the halls. And if I could do a shameless promotion for the convention, Dr. Sheena Mead is going to be joining us from the Clean Slate Initiative. And they have legislation that they promoted around the nation, which promotes expungement, particularly in the case of nonviolent felonies and serious misdemeanors. And what's remarkable about her is they've actually passed this legislation in 14 states. So I've asked her if she's going to be speaking at a keynote and a breakout, particularly because she's actually passed legislation. And as libertarians, we could all learn from that. But the pipeline to prison is real. And the pipeline to prison is what, again, here, same as the homelessness. There's no real desire by the criminal justice complex to solve crime, because if you solve crime, then literally $1 bazillion of funding goes away. And that's what police are interested in. Defend the Guard fight, but on a different level, is difficulty because they don't want the funding to go away. All of these different societal problems, they don't want to fix education because then the funding goes away. Ultimately, the tail's wagging the dog. All of this government, this explosion of government over this last generation, is all about people profiting from the distress of others. And by the way, have I mentioned, should we begin to then just ignore government and work around it ourselves? That's the only way you defeat this cancer.
Totally agree. Lars, back to you. The category is drug policy and enforcement failure. This category is brought to us by our friends at Zoom, Beyond Shrooms. Check out zoomtrip.com. Lars, is it time to end the drug war?
No victim, no crime. That's basically it. What you put in your body and what you want to do with your own self is your business, and the government should have no business saying that whatsoever. The 70-year failed war on drugs is exactly that. It's created the cartels south of the border. It's caused the crisis that we have at the border. It's caused human trafficking. It's caused untold travesties, human rights issues. And all for what? All for what? So we can spend billions and billions of dollars and lock up a whole bunch of people for deciding what they want to put in their body. It's absolutely atrocious and ridiculous. We abolished prohibition for the same exact reasons, and rightly so. because that created Al Capone and the cartels and all that kind of stuff. And so when we got rid of it, it got rid of that problem. So yes, we absolutely should end the failed war on drugs and let people make their own decisions for themselves. No victim, no crime.
I like it. Amanda, to you. Does prohibition create more crime than it prevents?
Over time, yes. And so what we need to be doing is we need to be smarter about educating people about prohibition, because everyone always talks about how, okay, well, if we let people, if we decriminalize drugs, if we make drugs legal, then we see a spike in drug use. And that's true for the first couple of years. And then it actually goes down dramatically. When people use the standard talking points about prohibition, that's typically overlooked. We need to be honest about that, though. In the long term, prohibition absolutely makes drugs, first of all, a lot more dangerous, because you're getting them on the black market. You're getting them laced with all kinds of things. And I know we're talking about drugs. We can say this in terms of a whole lot of things. Prohibiting substances, prohibiting activities just creates cartels. It creates much more dangerous versions of the same product. And if you're a statist and you want to get tax revenue, a great way to do that is to tax drugs, but that requires decriminalizing them, making them legal.
All right, Pat, to you. Are current drug laws hurting communities more than helping them?
Absolutely. First of all, understand one very basic premise. Legal drugs are safe drugs, right? If you want to end the fentanyl crisis, you simply, and yeah, it'll take a little bit of time to do the mechanics, but you legalize the use of drugs. Because if drugs were competing in the same type of marketplace that alcohol or cigarettes were, you would have the market enforced safety that takes place in the sale of liquor, for example. When was the last time you heard someone going to a conventional liquor store, buying a bottle of booze, and not because they drank too much, but they opened it up and had a sip and died because of some narcotic or some influence in the product? It simply doesn't happen. So if you operate under that premise, all sorts of problems are eliminated almost instantly. Pressure on our borders for people fleeing from cartels, people through, the issues that come up with public health crisis as people become homeless because of the drug war. All we've done is essentially offshore our drug production to Latin and Central America and dumped on them the crises that are in the aftermath. And then when they leave to come back here, because it's safer here thanks to us, then we prosecute them for fleeing the communities that we've effectively destroyed. So it's ended now. But did I mention that a whole lot of people in the American medical industry make a whole lot of money off of fighting the impacts of addiction that are largely the result of a prohibition economy? So again, shocker, we don't, the royal we, the folks who own the big drug companies, the folks who make, the what I call the recovery complex, the recovery industrial complex. Here we go again, right? The same cliche. They're making a lot of money from everything from Narcan to the variety of chemicals that prevent overdose and addiction. Well, how about we just clean up the drug supply by making it more easily and readily available and safer? And typically what happens in that environment, then abuse goes down and homelessness goes down. But again, it's all one rat's nest of people scoring money. Third time I probably said it tonight, scoring money off of other people's misery. And that misery is self-inflicted by a variety of power players in our economy. And they're all supported by government.
Totally agree. Lars, to you, categories policing and accountability structures. Do police have too much legal protection?
They don't have to worry about.
Sorry, I had you muted. Could you start again?
Yeah, so this goes back to qualified immunity and why we need to end qualified immunity, because they don't have an incentive to do right, right? And they know that they can be bad actors and get away with it, a majority of the time. And so, yeah, we have to end qualified immunity. It's as simple as that.
All right. Amanda, to you, is police accountability still too weak?
It is, and a lot of it has to do with I make some libertarians angry because I do believe in worker empowerment, and usually what that means is getting corporatized unions out of the way. There is a huge difference between people actually bargaining for their rights as workers and what we have with police unions, which are the reason we have qualified immunity, which are the reason that we have taxpayers paying for police defense when they should be getting prosecuted for things that they do that are wholly immoral and in fact illegal, or would be if anyone else did them. Yeah, police still have way too much legal protection. This can be resolved in large part through community-based policing, through communities actually choosing how they want their communities and their families to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right, Pat, to you. Should qualified immunity be ended?
Yes. All right. So the first observation is, until the police learn to take out their own trash, we have to remove every bit of safety that they hide behind. In Rhode Island, incredibly enough, we have something called LEOBOR, which is the Law Enforcement Officer's Bill of Rights. So they've got extra legal protection over virtually every other, I'll call it critical care career, medicine, lawyers. They have all sorts of extra legal protection. And this all comes, by the way, back to the central issue that we have a top-down policing that's inflicted on us by government, as opposed to a bottom-up policing which emanates from individuals. So I'll just give you one quick example. In Rhode Island a couple of years ago, and I followed this case as a reporter, there was a police officer who decided to chase a kid in a road rage incident because he was driving over 100 miles an hour on the interstate highway. All right. Driving an unregistered vehicle, this is the cop, with an open container, using his service revolver outside of his jurisdiction, he shot the kid. Now, he didn't kill him, barely missed killing him, but he shot the kid. And you know what? That law enforcement officer Bill of Rights allowed him, after being shockingly, there's video of him raising his gun. He stipulated to shooting the kid. And he was found not guilty by a court of his peers. And then after that, using this Bill of Rights, he was able to effectively retire early. God bless America. Did I mention in the halls of justice, justice is usually found in the halls.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Lars, to you, categories immigration enforcement and state power. Is immigration law too broken to be fairly enforced?
I think that we have a lot of immigration law already, but they selectively enforce it and don't enforce it. And, for me personally, I think that the majority of people should be free to transact business and to travel unfettered. And that the role of government, in my opinion, should just be to keep out bad actors, to keep people that are harmful to society. That's really the only thing that I think government should be doing. And the rest of it, I think we have the laws. We just need to basically work the laws. And if the citizens of America don't like the laws once they're actually being practiced, then we should change those laws. But right now, for me, the majority of people should be able to come and go as they feel like. I should be able to come and go as I please to whatever country I want and be able to do business in any country that I want. And so I feel like that should be the same for all people.
Totally agree. All right, Amanda, to you. Are deportation policies too blunt and inhumane?
Yes, that's an easy answer. Especially when you have, I don't even know what I said. It's always wrong. It is wrong to have people taken to a torture chamber in another country. It is wrong to deliberately be targeting people who are in fact US citizens whose skin is a certain color because it's easier to find them, as we've heard that the Trump administration's immigration enforcement agents are doing. It's always wrong to be locating people who do not have a history of violent crime, who sometimes in many cases don't have a criminal conviction at all, and sending them back to other countries. And I want to take a moment, by the way, to point out the fact that we have a libertarian, a Florida libertarian, Izzy Alley, who is currently being held in DHS custody in Pennsylvania, facing potential deportation to Egypt. You want to talk about inhumane? Izzy has just been diagnosed with stage 3 kidney disease and was not told about this diagnosis until very recently, even though Izzy had labs done early this year. So Izzy's not getting treatment, Izzy's not getting help, and right now is in a very dire situation. I talked earlier about something that LPA is doing with getting Povertarians to Grand Rapids. We do have one shirt on our LP Alliance shop, which is a free Izzy shirt. And if you go there, again, 100% of the proceeds actually go to Izzy's case. We're not taking any of it. We're not taking a single cut of it. It goes to fighting for Izzy's health and Izzy's freedom. So yeah, inhumane Izzy's one example of that. And there are countless more.
Yeah, that's true. Free Izzy. Pat, to you. Should peaceful people face removal over paperwork?
First, let me say very clearly, so there's not a bit of confusion. Fuck ICE.
Nice.
I mean, really. I'm an independent reporter during the day, and I cover our little state, Rhode Island. And because our state's so little, I find myself in the middle of everything. And I particularly pay a lot of attention to the ongoing issues with private prisons and how they're being used and how they're financed by Citizens Bank. By the way, nationally, for anyone who banks at Citizens Bank, understand that your bank is financing, for-profit prisons. We live in this paperwork jungle, this Kafkaesque nightmare, where literally a form this way, a form that way, in the paperwork jungle that is the federal government, who, by the way, creates all these rules and is incapable of, at any level, providing the support system so that people can comply with the rules. And to me, the word comply is an obscenity, but for the purpose of our argument right now. So is the paperwork jungle real? Absolutely. Have I seen it enforced at the private prison that's about 7 miles from my house that I routinely cover protests? Yes, it is. All right. Everything about this system sucks. You've got a right-wing nationalists who are fighting for I want the same system that my grandfather came in. They're white Italian, white Irish, whatever grandfather, all right, who wasn't of a different color. And despite the fact that system, which is how my grandparents came over, largely was a boat that took you to a dock that had a big haul, and as long as you didn't have body parts falling off and you could create some convincing bullshit that you had somebody waiting for you, you got to be a citizen. And they changed your name so something was pronounceable. They threw a few vowels in there, and that was it. And I'm not oversimplifying. That's how Ellis Island was. That was the reality. So now we've got these lotteries where, and listen, the Irish have been beneficiaries of that, the Donnelly visas, all these different ways that you can massage the system, all right, to your benefit, if in fact you have the legal protection and the connections to make it work and you come from the right part of the world. So on that note, I will close with fuck ICE.
Well closed. All right, Lars, back to you. And these are the last 3 questions of the night. The category is government custody and individual rights. Should detention without strong due process ever be tolerated?
No, of course, that is one of our fundamental rights, is that we should have due process. And everybody should have the right to a fair trial of their peers, which, as was pointed out earlier, sometimes that's a joke. Oftentimes that's a joke. So, yeah, no, absolutely.
All right. Amanda, to you. Are people in government custody too easily stripped of basic rights?
First of all, I want to add to fuck ICE. I want to say abolish ICE, replace it with nothing. And yes, so we just talked about Izzy's case, and there are so many more. There's so little incentive for people to treat you like a human being in prison, because you have things like immunity, you have things prosecutorial immunity, you have qualified immunity for the police. People constantly are being stripped of their rights because they're regarded as criminals. There's always the suspicion that they're not telling the truth. It's a horrific system. For-profit prisons are some of the really more terrible offenders on that. And again, you've got the police, the prison guard unions that make it very, very easy for all kinds of abuses to occur. Yes, it's awful.
Absolutely. All right, last question of the night to you, Pat. Are custody conditions too often hidden from public scrutiny?
Absolutely. I'm involved with an organization. I cover them. There's 2 or 3 independent reporters that are sort of the house press that are working to end one of the most heinous forms of solitary confinement in America, and it's happening here in Rhode Island. Again, the irony, of course, is that it's a progressive democratic state, and those folks are so proper and so caring that they run a system, a criminal justice system where solitary confinement is actually absolutely in violation. You can tell I get angry about this. In violation of something called the Mandela Accords. And the Mandela Accords reflect the time that Nelson Mandela spent in solitary confinement on Robben Island in South Africa. And it creates a set of basic conditions. Right now in the state of Rhode Island, it's on administrative hold, these process, 23.5-hour prison conditions, poor lighting, mold, shitty food. They had to fight to get during the COVID, when you've got, and COVID was a disease, and I do not support anything to do with masking, and took a prominent role in the lawsuits in our state against. But that being said, you've got this something straight out of Papillon. All right, that's a Moot Boomer movie. Okay, where you've got these inhuman conditions. If Rhode Island were a sovereign nation, which we think we are, we would be considered a criminal state in the eyes of the United Nations. Okay, and it's run by progressives. So yeah, the conditions are horrific. Very little mental health. It's a state by state issue. There are no standards. I've argued with 4 successive directors of health in Rhode Island at press conferences. I get to ask at press conferences all the questions people ever wanted to ask. And I asked them, when is the state going to audit the prisons, the health department going to audit the prisons that are under state control? So they can do it themselves. There's no special laws that have to be passed, no papal dispensation. No one's got to be parachuted down. They can just send their own fucking doctors and actually check the conditions. And I will tell you, these conditions are horrible. We have multiple deaths a year, and that is far more common in the United States than you'll ever think. So fuck the state while I'm at it.
All right. That brings us to the end. Enter your scores in the chat if you've not done so already. Tell us who you think won. Tell us what you thought of the show. Share it out one more time. The algorithm's killing us right now. We would appreciate it. Let's jump into the chat one more time. See if I can read the words. Points to Lars for ending qualified immunity. Points to Amanda. Chicago explains the graffiti. That's true. Points to Lars. Criminal justice does not equal civil asset forfeiture. Points to Lars for ending qualified immunity. Points to Pat for helping out raising money for North Carolina after Helene. Yeah, he did it for Florida too. Points to Amanda. I have many tears. Points to Lars for the bad actor analogy. Reform for the criminal justice system. Points to Amanda for abolishing the 2-tiered justice system. Points to Amanda, it's the just us system. Points to Amanda, I think you got the question ahead of time and wrote the answers on your desk. Clever. They teach you to cheat at University of Chicago, I'm pretty sure.
They do, yeah.
Points to Amanda if she finishes the show on the treadmill. That would be awesome. Points to Pat for promoting nonviolent expungement. Points to Pat for not embarrassing us in front of C-SPAN. Points to Pat for calling out the criminal justice complex. Points to Pat for $1 bazillion. Points to Pat and the profit centered around the prison industrial complex. Points to Lars, victimless crimes is a money grab. Minus 500 to the Libertarian Party for not being on C-SPAN more. Points to Lars, no victim, no crime. Points to Pat, yes, pipeline to prison is the same pipeline Andy Dufresne escaped in the Shawshank Redemption. Points to Lars for fighting in the trenches with the drugs during the war on drugs. Points to Lars for his wealth of knowledge. Minus to Amanda, stay away from my black market drugs. Points to whomever sings No Victim, No Crime to the tune of No Women, No Crime.
No victim, no crime.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. Agit pop right here.
Yeah, there we go.
Points to Amanda, prohibition creates black markets. Minus to Amanda for encouraging status to tax our drugs. That was a bad move.
It's the intermediary step.
Amanda on prohibition answer. Minus to Amanda for not putting the picture I drew on her fridge.
That's in my bedroom, sigh.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Points to Pat and the drug war. Minus to Pat for trusting regulatory agencies over the open market. Points to Pat for highlighting that alcohol and cigarettes are largely safe due to regulation. Points to Amanda, I should write down what she says and share her wisdom. Then my government-loving in-laws will leave me alone this Thanksgiving.
The ultimate run-on sentence.
Points to Pat for...
Ameliorate.
Thank you. Points to Amanda for VC. Points to Lars, I supported you for president. Points to Amanda for shitting on the police unions. Points to Lars, another 100 if he comes on Swampcast sometime. I'm going to protect his brand on that one. Points to Amanda, end all public unions. Points to Pat, end qualified immunity. Points to Pat for having the example ready to go. Points to Pat, police need to take out their trash. They are encouraging dumpster diving crimes. Points to Pat for ending qualified immunity from my dog. Oh boy. Points to Pat, justice is found in the halls, just not in the halls of government buildings. Points to Lars for traveling freely. Points to Lars for his economically literate immigration stance. Points to Amanda for having her water without ice. That's based. Points to Amanda for talking about Izzy. Points to Lars for the political science professor vibe. You're wearing a tweed jacket. Points to Amanda for Izzy. Points to Lars. Yes, free travel. I hope they let me fly to North Korea and then to Iran next week for free. Not for free, but for free. Points to Amanda for advocacy. Points to Amanda for being against the GED PDs at ICE. Points to Pat. Fuck ICE. Points to Pat. I'm still confused. What should I do to my ICE? Points to Pat for protesting for-profit prisons. Points to Pat for Ellis Island. Points to Pat for liking hot drinks since he doesn't like ice. Points to Amanda for abolishing ice. Points to Amanda for fuck ice. Points to Pat for his answers being longer than the show's intro. That's true. Points to Pat for masking the faces. Points to Amanda for returning her library books. See empty bookshelf. Points to Amanda for being so cool. Points to Pat for mental health matters. And Jacob.
Trump is fascist. Trump is fascist. Trump is fascist.
I just got here with 200 for the first person to say Trump is fascist. That's fair. And that will end it up. And let's see where we finished here. Lars goes end at 98-24. Pat in second, 97-79. Amanda just 11 points behind with 97-68. Amanda, you came in third. What'd you think?
First of all, I know there's someone in the chat who can give me 11 points right now and it'll be fine. So I took a bold stance tonight. I came out against myself. I always come out against something on these shows. It's been farmers, it's been milk, it's been parents, and now I came out against myself tonight, and I think it paid off. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Unlike libertarian arguments, when we quit scoring, that we're done. We don't let it just go on forever. So,
well, I mean, it's before midnight Hawaii time, guys. So I think, I should win because I said Trump is a fascist. I got those points. I don't think the points were added.
So plug what you're up to and anything else.
I'm up to getting the points for saying that Trump is a fascist. Free. I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm also up to I'm up to running for vice chair of the Libertarian National Committee. You can follow me at Ajax the Griff on X. You can also read the torch.media. It is our movement journal at LP Alliance. You can follow that at LP_allies. We're rebuilding the Libertarian Party, revolutionizing the liberty movement. and we are ready to take this party to new heights and, work in solidarity with one another. So I think that covered it. I think it did. I still get the points, right?
And you can follow her on X, Ajax the Griff. Also follow LP Alliance. They are LP_allies. And vote for her in Grand Rapids. If you are a delegate, please be a delegate. We need everybody we can get. Appreciate you, Amanda. You always make this fun.
Always have fun.
The parts where you take over the whole show and I don't have to do my work.
The people like it.
Pat, you came in second place. What'd you think?
I love this. This is a life affirming experience, as I've told you before. It's fun because it always starts out kind of lighthearted, but then it gets great questions. You can tell a lot about the folks on this show, how engaged they are at just about every level of the liberty movement, because it's constantly smart answers. It's constantly people who are engaged and informed. So what's better than that? And of course, I'm thrilled that you're going to be on the stage. You're going to be on the main stage. To my knowledge, you're going to be the only quote unquote, and I say this with love, act on the main stage. Everything else is going to be convention business. So, this is an opportunity to take your game and literally every bit of the libertarian movement. So I'm thrilled. Listen, the convention's coming up in about 55 days or so. Please get your hotel rooms. Please stay at our hotels because it helps the party. Understand that this is not just a business meeting. That's the critical part. We went 4 days so that we could have enough time for bylaws, and we could have enough time for platform, and we could have enough time for reasoned debate. But we've also got about 12 or so keynote speeches, and coming out over the next week will be the breakout sessions. And all of those people that you see in those keynote speeches are all going to be up close and personal in breakout sessions, because we're looking for that level of engagement. We've committed that all our breakout sessions will not interfere with business. There's some great training if you're looking for it. And then my personal passion, of course, is I literally wear it on my is Libertarian Mutual Aid. We need two things. We adopt a sort of a Bernie-esque fundraising model. A little bit of money from a lot of people, and we're able to, again, we provide water, bulk water by the pallet, as well as harm reduction supplies to encampments. We bring that right into the encampment. Food kitchens, meal pantries. These are all small organizations that receive a little bit of government funding, but none of these organizations that we support are these mega charities with this big salaries. We're all volunteer. We get no government money. And I will tell you, final thought, during the SNAP crisis, all right, all of a sudden, all these government types are calling us because you know what? It didn't matter to us because we never got their fucking money anyway. So, I'm looking to get other states to adopt something similar that works for them. Water works for us. There's something that every libertarian party can do in their state with a separate organization, non-political organization, so it doesn't interfere with fundraising, that can be directed in mutual aid at a problem that's afflicting their state. You replace the government, you transform people's lives. It's the best feeling ever. Call me, let me help. How was that for long-winded? I didn't even take a breath.
Sound like Free's intro.
Yeah, right. And follow Pat on X. He is taxpayer, and of course he is with Libertarian Mutual Aid, which I think is one of the best organizations out there. And donate to them, help them out if you can. And like he mentioned, we will be at the Libertarian National Convention. If you would like to go, you can find all that info at lnc2026.com. We would love to see many friendly faces there. Appreciate you, brother, and all you do, man. Looking forward to seeing you in Grand Rapids. Lars, you won again. What did you think?
I was kind of surprised at that. I thought at the end there, the rants that Pat and Amanda were doing was going to put me under, but so I'm stoked to win. I thought I was going to not make it. I think that they had some great rants. I loved some of the things that made me think. It gave me some good talking points. I'm actually going to listen to this again because there was a couple really bangers in here. So what I'm doing, ballotswithoutbarriers.com. Go there. and you can write to your state representatives and tell them how screwed ballot access is and that you want it changed. And if we get a few million people doing that around the country, we can get rid of ballot access. And it's so simple. Like everybody talks about, I want to do activism, I want to do something for liberty. Well, it's super simple. Go to that website, click a couple buttons, and you're good. And we have a thing set up there where you're actually able to send a physical piece of mail to your state representatives to tell them how bad you think ballot access is. Like I said, the party spends $1 million a year on ballot access across the 50 states or more. And we could use that money instead of spending on ballot access. We could use that money to promote liberty and to get candidates to win elections and change American politics for the better. And so, yeah, thank you so much. Looking forward to Grand Rapids and seeing everybody there. And you haven't really lived life unless you've had Pat Ford drive you from Rhode Island to the middle of nowhere, New York, for different conventions during your presidential campaign. So thanks for that. And Amanda's awesome too. So it was a great show. Thanks, guys.
Can I make a plug for Lars? All right. This past week at the Rhode Island General Assembly, Harrison Kemp, former strong libertarian and former chair of Maine, who's part of Lars' staff, joined me and a couple of Rhode Island libertarians to advocate for legislation that was created by Harrison and by myself and one or two other people, but spearheaded by Harrison before he was involved with Lars's organization. We had a great testimony. We've gotten the formal endorsement of the Secretary of State of Rhode Island, and now we're working on an endorsement, incredibly, from the ACLU, because the legislation would drastically transform what it takes to become a political party and do so in a way that'll support all forms of political thought. And, we thank Lars for his support on that. And of course, we thank Harrison for his support on that. So their organization works. And what I love about it is these are libertarians out in the wild, out in the real world. These aren't philosophical bull sessions. This is actual work. And it quite frankly, there's a lot of success on the horizon with them. So thank you, Lars, and thank you for everything you do. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, we are making a lot of moves. We've got a number of states that we think we can crack. And the whole point of Ballots Without Barriers is we need to put pressure on these state representatives in order to get them to move. They won't move unless their constituents are telling them this is an important issue. And it doesn't take a lot. If we could get a few hundred libertarians in each state, I'm going to be approaching the Green Party and the Ford Party and all these things. It's going to be super important to get this out there, get that activity going, and we can actually change ballot access. We did it in Maine. Now we got something in Rhode Island. We had a big piece in Wyoming for proportional representation that we were working on. So there's a lot of activity, and I think we can actually do good things, but we need support. Not necessarily financially, although that's always helpful, but just that simple action of going on Ballots Without Barriers and entering your information and yelling at your state representative. Thanks.
Love it. And that website is ballotswithoutbarriers.com. You can also follow Lars on X at Libertarian Lars, and he's on all the socials. And also check out votingrights.com. Appreciate you, brother. Looking forward to seeing you in Grand Rapids as well, and appreciate your support of the show. Let's add Terry back in here. What you think tonight, Terry?
I truly hope. I laughed really hard a few times. I got to tell you guys, you just were misbehaving so appropriately, and I loved every minute of it. It was great, and the chat was awesome tonight. They kind of kept me going too. They always do. I want to point out to the chat and anybody else out there that's watching, if you haven't noticed, everybody involved with this show and this game show, from the host, the guests, all the people who help out, are all people who work for other issues and are actively trying to move liberty in the right direction. Everybody involved with it is. And if you can do that, just pick what it is you want to do and what you want to support and go out there and do it. And it's not that hard. You just take that first step, and after that it gets easier and you meet some fantastic people.
All right. Love it. You can follow me and Terry on X. I'm at Smarter Game Show. She is at BantT76. You can get our swag at freedomsuperstore.com. Our shorts will be up shortly on YouTube at Freedom Uncut. Thanks again to Xano. Your privacy matters. Choose Xano, the leading blockchain platform that prioritizes confidentiality and security. And if you're new to the space, go to intro.xano.org. And thanks again to Zoom. You can check out their products at zoomtrip.com. And we will be in Texas in a little over a week. And then Colorado, or no, next week we'll be in Texas. And then Colorado the week after that. And then the national convention in May. Thank you again to all of our wonderful subscribers. You can subscribe to us on X, and you can sponsor the show by emailing studio@freedomuncut.com. Love the chat. Thanks for all the humor and insights. And we will be back Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will see you all then. Peace out, y'all.